What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here, and today we're going to talk about why this might be the exact distance driver that you've always needed in your life. Spoiler alert, according to some, it may not even be a distance driver. But before we dive into this beautiful, juicy information, gotta ask the most important question of the day. How you doing today, Eric? Are you having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
So first things first, I want to go ahead and get my U-Disc activity round going. Recently had the chance at Disc South to meet one of the founders of U-Disc, Josh. Hey, Josh. In meeting Josh, I think one of the coolest things is as he talks about U-Disc, you can see that he's not just passionate about U-Disc, he's passionate about using his skill set and his ability to analyze and gather data in order to help grow our sport. He's essentially just trying to gather data in order to get it in the hands of more people, because the more data we have, more courses can go in, which means disc golf grows. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get my activity round started here, which essentially is just gonna look like me setting up a normal round, but there's this little button that you can press for scoring or activity. In an activity round, I don't have to actually keep score, and it logs it as a round on U-Disc so that when U-Disc gathers data, they have even more accurate data rather than just saying, oh yeah, no, I play a lot of rounds, but like, I just don't put them on U-Disc. But I already see in the comments, I didn't come for a U-Disc ad. I came to talk about distance, which is fair. That's why we put the title of the video to pull you in, and we'll talk about sort of activity rounds and why I think they're beneficial as we go throughout the video. But we're here today to talk about the MVP Trail. This is a disc that you probably are seeing a lot of hype of and a lot of people talking about this disc, and its flight numbers are right here. And you may be looking at that 10-speed aspect and say, wow, that just isn't for me, brother, because maybe you don't have the arm speed, or maybe you just don't know how that disc is gonna fly. And I think this is a disc that straight up anyone can throw this disc, and unless you're sponsored by someone who isn't gyro related, I'll go ahead and make the bold statement, I think this deserves a slot in your bag. So we've got 4 here today that actually all have varying weights. The most max weight of them is going to be green steel, coming in at 174 grams. Red Heck Yeah comes in at 172. Tealish green double stamp comes in at 171. And then teal stitch coming in at a nice ripe 167. Now what I think is really cool is that the weight already has an effect on this, and this disc is so popular, I would be shooketh if we don't have fission trails on the way. We'll start in the middle weights, and we're gonna throw them going for the silver basket that's resting in the rocks over there. Did we miss the Mando? Yes. Did we throw it far past the tee? Yes. This pin location is 340 feet away, by the way. There we go. That's got that turn. So what's fascinating about the trail is that when you look at the flight numbers, I don't think that you would inherently call this an understable disc. I think you would call it a neutral disc. But as you can see, I'm getting some pretty crazy turn out of these, and they're starting somewhat flat and then getting into that turn pretty fast. Oh, that's into a tree. Straight into a tree. Well, custom dyed ones. Didn't really get to see those fly. We'll throw those on the next tee. So you guys don't think that I'm being super biased in this video, or they're like, my boy Eric paid me to do this. He didn't. What I think is really interesting about the trail specifically is that I will be the first to admit that I have only found one gyro distance driver, or even control driver and up, that I've actually ever enjoyed throughout my time in disc golf. And it was the Mayhem by Axiom. And I think it was also amidst the James Conrad craze, where everyone was like switching to gyro pretty fast. And we were all just like really leaning into, oh my gosh, these discs are doing so many things. And I think that the Gyro Push is so fun on sort of mid ranges and things like that, but not necessarily easily achieved for most human beings who play disc golf when it comes to your distance drivers. So what makes the trail different? Even better yet, what am I talking about with the Gyro Push? So the Gyro Push is this second gear that gyro discs seem to find when they get going, where they come out of your hand with an initial speed, and it's like because there's that extra weight in the rim, they get going and they go vroom vroom, they hit the NOS on their own and go and push a little farther. I think it's one of the reasons why the Hex goes so far compared to so many other mids. The Envy is basically a mid-range because it pushes so far. The Gyro Push is real. But because you have that extra weight on the outside edge of the disc, that gyro push also means you really need to get the disc up to speed. And traditionally, if you couldn't get a distance driver up to speed, it still had use or utility because you could use it as sort of an overstable option or a wind fighter and all sorts of different things. But even understable discs, such as folks trying to use a max weight wave and not being able to get the gyro push out of it, unless they were throwing it in fission plastic, which helped it make the gyro push easier from my understanding. So because of that, it's like, hey, if I throw an MVP driver well compared to another distance driver well, the MVP driver, because of the gyro push, is probably going to go farther. But the drawback is that if I throw an MVP driver poorly and I throw another driver poorly, that gyro push is gonna fight against me and actually make the disc be more overstable. Let me know if I'm wrong, but like that's at least how it felt and how I watched so many different people embrace and try to use gyro drivers. So color me not surprised when MVP releases another disc in the James Conrad lineup, the Trail, a 10-speed that feels like it should be a control driver, and there are lots of great fairway drivers. I know the Rhythm is one of the most slept on discs inside their lineup. That disc is crazy good because I think lots of people can also get it up to speed and get some flip out of it and do some crazy cool things. But I know I personally wasn't running to go get some trails. But then one day something convinced me, and that something was probably not what you're thinking. It was a $5 off coupon at our local shop. They sent it out and said, hey, $5 off, come check it out. And I walked in, saw trails and thought, you know what? I've heard some chatter about this. I'll give it a chance. Speaking of giving it a chance, let's go stitch. We're going 338 is the goal. And the trails are cooking and doing great distance, and then we're just hitting trees in solid contact. That one we release nose up. Also, that's the 174 gram. Green steel is a beast. Not only in Lorcana, because Diablo say, what? But also just the ability to have a little more stability with the extra weight. Crazy. Yeah. Hypergeometric maths. It's a trail video, Robbie. It's a trail video. So when your putters fail you, just go with the trail. Now, another great part about the trail. I think that the trail is a great learning forehand disc. As you saw on the first hole, it can have some understability to it. Like once it gets over, it's not often gonna have a ton of strength to fight back, but that's fine because I feel like once it breaks that like barrier of flying flat and gets a little turn to it, you feel like you're gonna add like 50 or 60 feet just based on its nice gentle turnover, which is sick because that means you don't have to be, when you're throwing this, you don't often have to be sort of force flexing it over to get those flights. You can throw it flat. You can throw it on some hyzer and watch as it's gonna, that understability is enough to stand up as long as you don't start it on too much hyzer. If you don't have a great forehand, rather than having to jump all the way up to like a Firebird or a Felon or a Raptor or things like that, this could be it for you if you don't have a great forehand and you're looking for that overstable option. I'd imagine this is gonna fly that way at the beginning, unless you're an Anheuser chopper. And remember that like, this doesn't want to necessarily fight out of the understable flight. It just wants to hopefully get to that point. So I don't think that you can like chop over on it and it'll fight out, but this will be interesting because we have a right to left crosswind. So I'm gonna try to put these on some hyzer, a decent amount of hyzer, because personally, I like to push a forehand pretty hard, and hopefully they'll stand up for you and see what we can do. Yeah, so nice and smooth, stood up, got to flat. We can go a little more this time. You can see I put more on it, and then once it, like I said, once it reaches that breaking point where it goes past flat, it's not coming back. That's for my arm speed, which is in the like 350 to 380 range consistently right now. Why should you bag this disc if you don't throw 350 to 380? Let's talk about it. Mr. YouTube man, I only throw 250. I'm not gonna get the gyro push out of these things. What am I supposed to do? I think I said it like 5 times on the last hole. When this thing gets over on the turn, it's gonna stay in that turn. And I think that's happening at a high speed or a low speed. And even if it is not holding it as long on the low speed, it's still going to lean into that turn a little bit, which means that you can throw flat and watch as it has a decent chance of doing something cool, because it does want to turn. But I think what's also fascinating about this spread, even amongst sort of like 3 of these are within 3 grams of one another in terms of weight. But then you have the outlier here at 167. So if you start hunting and looking for some lightweight trails, you're going to be able to find a trail that matches your arm speed that you can throw more effectively. And I said it before and I'll say it again, shooketh if we don't have fission trails. I bet they're being cooked right now. I bet like they're being made. So we got wide open space. Let's see if we can not throw these into a tree and just try to showcase. I'm gonna try to throw these flat. I'm gonna try not to throw them nose up, and we're just gonna throw them out into the distance and see what happens. Okay, it's a headwind. Because what would Robbie see doing a disc review be without terrible wind? Okay, we threw it nose up. So that didn't help us. Let's go 171. Okay, that one I actually didn't throw. Oh, it's been a minute since I've done that. That's cool. You guys finally got to experience hole 7 on camera. Welcome. Okay, that one we got a hold of. It came out fast. That was gyro pushing. And last but certainly not least, green steel. And we early released it. Realistically, none of them were great, but I still want to show you guys those shots because it's important to show the bad shots with the good. So with the beauty of YouTube magic, I have all 4 in my hands again? All right, Mr. Crawford, let's not be like the lollipop and be a total dum-dum this time, eh? How do you feel about that? Nope, early release it again. I'm like letting go. I'm not committing to the turn. Okay. There you go. You can see the turn coming out of it. Bad release, but it gets up there and it starts turning at that tree line. Never considers coming out. Nosy, elbow dipped. So if we throw it super high nose up, we can get some fade out of it. And that's why green steel is a beast, because we hit green steel the best out of all 4. Let's talk final thoughts, because apparently my arm has decided that it's done trying to demonstrate the flight of this disc today. The wind is howling like this swelling storm inside. Couldn't keep it in, couldn't if I tried. Traditionally, one of my greatest flaws when I try to throw a driver is that I, like many amateurs, want to embrace the it's a driver, throw it hard. And that mentality doesn't have to happen when you throw a trail, which I think is so cool. It is a 10-speed, but especially if you find a lightweight one, you don't have to give it a ton of power in order to get it to reach that level. So you can get some pretty great distance out of it pretty fast. I also think that the trail is a disc that is gonna functionally have purpose for you no matter what stage you're at in your game. If you're throwing 250 and lower, it's gonna be a great disc to grow into. It's gonna start out as an overstable option for you that you're gonna start seeing eventually as you start seeing some distance gains, start seeing some cool flight out of it. If you're throwing 300, it probably is gonna be the disc that pushes you to 350. If you're throwing 350 and above, it's gonna be a straight flyer. And if you're throwing 450 and above, it's gonna be a nice understable sort of turning max distance shot type deal. As a 10-speed, it just has like distance driver vibes with fairway driver hand feel, so you're not overwhelmed by that massive rim trying to get a hold of it, so you can really lean into it. And I don't have to sit here and like try to turn my brain off where I needed to do there and be like, stop trying to throw it hard, Dennis. Just throw the Frisbee smooth and fast. And I think the trail could bomb for you. But we're also at the end of our round. So I am going to close out my activity round. Tells me how many steps I did, tells me how long I walked, how many floors did I climb. It's fantastic. It takes 10 seconds to turn it on. Don't have to track it. And another cool part is I do believe that if you're having a scoring round and it's not going well, rather than just deleting the scorecard or not finishing it, you can just flip it to an activity round mid-round and be like, oh, the vibe is high, now I'm holding on. So as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I want to know your thoughts on the trail. How do you feel about it? Do you think I've overhyped it? Do you think that sold my soul? I don't know. I really do think it's an amazing disc. And I went from having no trails in my bag to I currently have 2. I've got Stitch and Green Steel in my bag, and it is, I'll tell you, very tough for me to think about throwing distance drivers because the trail just goes pretty far, and I don't feel the stress of trying to throw my distance drivers just yet. But I know, Clint, we're working on it. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie. Bye, Josh.